Hi, my name is Filipa and welcome to my channel Awkward the Talk, where I give parents the courage, tools, skills and knowledge to give their children adequate and mindful sexual education. Today's topic is our privates. So we want to be talking to children about private parts so that they become aware of distinctions between private and public. And the sooner they understand these concepts, the safer they will be as well. So when you talk about privates, a lot of the time we tend to think of just the genitals, so the penis, testicles, vulva, vagina, but really what is private, what we should be considering as private parts is everything that is covered by underwear and a bikini, for example. So we're talking about not only the genitals but the anus, the butt, nipples and breasts. Nipples and breasts is an interesting one because in different cultures, little girls until a certain age go to the beach, topless, for example. So this is something that I know is a very debated subject, and I think that you as a family will have to decide how you feel about your little girl walking around with their bare chest. So I leave that up to you, because one of the things that is crucial for me is that this channel gives you tips on things that are important, how to start conversations with your kids, but also to give you the tools to make your own decisions about the kind of sexual education that you want to give your child, that is based on our fundamental concepts of mindfulness and intentionality and empathy and respect for your children, that and all of this done with with fact-based information. So whether you choose to include the breasts and nipples of children, well, children don't have breasts, they just have nipples. But if you choose to include those as private, what you want to be doing is you want to be teaching your children how to name their body parts adequately. Even if you in your household already use nicknames like Willy or Pee-Pee or Fanny or whatever it is, you should be teaching your child the appropriate names as well as those. One of the things that I would encourage you to do to encourage your child is to obviously when they're small, you're going to be helping them with their hygiene, but you should be encouraging them and teaching them on how to carry out their own hygiene. This is important. Why? Because the sooner and more autonomous your child becomes, the safer they will be when they are outside the home. And that means that they will need less help from other people when they need to go to the toilet, for example. Children at an age of about 3-4 years old, they're very curious about their own genitals, how they work, as well as the genitals of other people, especially of those of a different sex to them. So where was I going with this? Oh yes. So something that is interesting to think about is that even if your child does not ask you many questions or any questions in that regarding genitals, you should be giving them information about it, because sometimes children have questions, they just don't know how to pose them, and then they make up their own little theories in their minds about it. So it is very common that that little girls think that they might grow a penis, for example, or that their penis has fallen off. And it is very common for boys to be scared that their penis will fall off, especially if these are boys that have seen the female body naked, their mom's naked, for example. And these are completely normal and natural fears that children have, but it is important that you as an adult, that you're there to clarify these questions, and if they're not posed as questions, that you should volunteer this information by explaining that our genitals are different and how do they differ. And then your question might be, and then what, and how to approach this subject. My suggestion would be that you find some material that is appropriate to children, like books that have illustrations that show the differences between the sexes, for example. It's funny because we say that we have private parts in our body, but the opposite would be that the rest of the body is public. But that's something that is a very big misconception, and nothing about our body is public. It is only social. It means that there are parts of the body that we do not show and we do not have other people looking at, and these are the private parts, or touching them as well. And then we have social parts, which are the parts that other people are able to see, and we are able to see in their body, and there is nothing wrong with it. And we are, in some body parts, we are also able to touch, and this continues to be appropriate so long as there's consent. So, for example, shaking hands or hugging. The sociability of these body parts is then also, it depends on your culture, where you grew up, what religion you are from as well, where certain people are more comfortable with touch as well, and others are not. For example, in where I come from, you have to give 2 kisses on the cheek when you greet people, and this is something I don't particularly like. And when I was a child, I particularly hated it. But it is a common thing, and this is a way of socializing. There's nothing wrong with it. You just shouldn't be forced to interact in this way if you don't want to. It is fundamental that your children understand the difference between public and private, the kind of body parts and the kind of behavior they can have in public and that they can have in private. And one of the things you want to be instilling when you are talking about genitals and private parts is who around you is okay to see and touch these parts. So, for example, who is in your safety network? Who are these adults that your children can expect to be changed or washed or bathed by? It is also fundamental that they understand what is consent and what is respect. So when we're talking about consent, children nowadays actually know the word consent. Because it's become such a normalized word. But if they're very young and they don't know the concept of consent, you can talk about what is allowed and what is not allowed. And if somebody does something that is not allowed, how they should proceed, right? So if somebody touches them or looks at them or asks for them to look at their own body or touch them, what they should do. And here I will just give you the 4 basic rules of self-protection that are: you first say no, and then you scream as loud as you can, you run away from that situation, and you tell an adult that you trust. So when you are doing your everyday activities with your children, that includes changing them or bathing them, you want to be talking to them about these concepts in a way that is light and playful. And the key here is repetition, 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 repetition. So I hope that helped. If you have any questions, please feel free to DM me or just drop me a message. All right, if you found this helpful, click like and send it to somebody that you think would like it.